What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Perfect Fusion Cesium with the Gigapower Grassor, both versions of a Masterpiece Slag. So I have done some comparisons with these, but not against each other. So we did do Cesium with the Fans Toy Scoria. That was pretty much a tie. I think Scoria won by 1 point, but it was very close. And then the Gigapower we did also Fans Toy Scoria, and Gigapower won that one. Now, we have never compared these two. I recently acquired this. Now, this is interesting because both of these figures were acquired from basically fans of the show or subscribers. So Dr. Diecast helped me get the head. Michael Rogers helped me find this toy in a store. I actually paid for it, but he found it and sent it to me, cleaned it up. He did a really awesome job. So thank you, Michael Rogers. Thank you, Dr. Diecast, for the head. And then this one was sent to me by Mr. G. Tony. Now, this was a gift, a very, very expensive, unnecessary gift. Of course, I appreciate it, but thank you, all three of you, for helping me get these two bots. As I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible, but of course there's subjectivity involved when comparing things in these categories. So if I pick one or the other and you prefer the one I didn't pick, then you win. I really do these comparisons to help people try to decide what direction to go, especially these guys, which are hard to find, kind of expensive, and so you want to be sure in your investment if you're about to go buy this. So without further ado, let's start off with the comparison, and we'll start off with accessories. So here are all the accessories these guys come with. Obviously, Gigapower has way more, so it's going to win this category, but let's just go to be complete. They both come with a sword. They both have the light up feature here on the bottom, translucent plastic. The Perfect Fusion is painted this chrome, but they are basically equivalent. They both come with a gun. I don't believe this is the correct gun for Cesium. Now, as I mentioned, this was a toy store find when I looked at it before, so I, got what I got, and I couldn't complain. But it did come with this gun, which is, I believe, Sludge's gun, Fans Toys' version of Sludge. Either way, they both come with a gun. They both light up. They both come with a black head for the toy version, so you can basically get that toy look. They both have the red head on there right now. I don't have the screw in this one, that's why it's coming apart. But if you want that toy look, you can do that. And then here's what's left over. Gigapower obviously has way more stuff. You've got the translucent plastic for the dyno mode, so you can get that toy look. You've got these guns, not only add to the playability, also just give you that toy look as well. And then if you like the legs on the outside of the feet, then these go inside as fillers for the legs. So Gigapower is going to win accessories. Next, we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 cartoon there so you can take a look for yourself. And looking at these two, they both are very similar to the G1 cartoon. Now, the Gigapower, this is the chrome version, so they went with a painted, shiny look here. But as far as the color scheme, the overall look, they have all the same cues, right? The gold-backed head, dino head behind the robot head. They both have the red head and face. Now, the Perfect Fusion, you can swap out the blue visor for the red visor if you prefer that, which I actually had it that way on display. They both have the silver chest. They both have the red around the shoulders and the chest, the abdomen. They both have the red on the crotch area. They both have some accents here, so silver and black and some detail. The Gigapower stands out a lot more, but they both do that. Both have the black thighs with the green accents here on the knees. Both have the translucent pieces with some detail, which isn't in the cartoon. And then they both have the gold feet here. So very, very similar. They both have the wings kind of sticking out on the back. The backs are similar. The Perfect Fusion doesn't clean up as well, but it does have the tail inside the feet, whereas the Gigapower has the tail sticking out of the back of the feet, which isn't like the cartoon. So they both do some things very, very similarly. So we're going to give them a tie on cartoon accuracy. Now we'll talk about the sculpt on these two figures. When it comes to Gigapower, they really do a great job with the sculpt, and it really makes these characters stand out because these are big, intimidating bots. The way they do it, it just makes them look just beefy and mean. The Perfect Fusion was done to look more cartoon accurate, more smooth. It's got more smooth surfaces. There is a little bit of sculpted detail, but it doesn't stand out as much as the Gigapower because they've painted all those sculpted details. So I'm going to give Sculpt to Gigapower. I think they just make their figure stand out with the sculpt, and they really end up being intimidating. Now we'll talk about the paint, and once again, Gigapower was going for this look, right? This is the chrome version, but even the non-chrome version is basically fully painted except for the thighs. You can see it is fully painted. The Perfect Fusion, again, meant to be a more budget line, has a little bit of paint here, some blue, black, and silver here, a little bit of accents here and there, but overall it's pretty much unpainted. A little bit of detail here. So we're going to give paint over to Gigapower. Now let's talk about the build quality on these. And this is, again, another kind of give me for Gigapower, because Perfect Fusion really was meant to be a more budget line. It still has some fans toys aspects to it and aesthetics to it, but some of the materials they use don't feel quite right. Like these tails, even though they fold into the legs very cleanly, they don't stay. And as you manipulate the legs, they kind of fold out. You saw earlier I was trying to push it back in. It doesn't lock into place. Same for this panel here. This panel feels very, very cheap. It's a kind of a thin plastic. It does pop off very easily from this. And you don't find stuff like that on the Gigapower. It's just a solid lump of robot. It feels, you know, heavy and solid. Let's get this back on here. It does just peg right in, but those kind of pieces like this and this, just they don't feel great overall. Now again, it was meant to be a budget line, but because of that, it ends up feeling a little bit cheap. So we're going to give build quality over to Gigapower. Next, we'll talk about the articulation on these two figures. In order to do that, we're going to articulate each one individually. Probably go as quickly as I can. So the Perfect Fusion is on a swivel here, and then the head itself moves independently of that swivel. A little bit weird to have to move that, but that does help. And you can get the head up a little bit and down a little bit, really not much because it's kind of locked into that little panel there. The shoulders rotate around on a ratchet, nice strong ratchet. The wings go up and down and in and out on this piece right here. The shoulders can go up to there. You have a little cover down piece right there. Rotation at the bicep. You have a single jointed elbow, gets you 90 degrees, rotation at the wrist, individually articulated fingers on 2 pins, and then the thumb is on a ball joint, which is typical fans toy style. Rotation at the waist on a ratchet, really strong, and an ab crunch, which is unique. There aren't many with ab crunch here, but this one you get it. The legs go up to here. There's a hip skirt here. It is kind of hindered by its own sculpt here. Can't get it past there. Back, not much at all. Out to the side on friction, but can't really hold the weight. You could probably tighten that screw, get a little bit better. Rotation at the thigh. Single jointed knee gets you 90 degrees. These tails keep coming out. You have an ankle tilt here and a pivot here. You get a little bit back and forth. You know, not too much, but you do get some good movement there. Moving on to Gigapower. The head is on a ball joint. You get the side-to-side movement. You get up and down. You can move this if you need to, but you don't really need to get the head to move. So you get pretty good down, pretty good up. Moving on to the shoulder. Actually, the wings you can move back and forth. And can you move these up and down? Yeah, you can move it here and here. So you have 2 spots, but it doesn't click up and down like the Perfect Fusion. Shoulders go up to there. It does have that cover down piece. Rotate around. Really strong ratchets in both directions. The bicep swivel. 90-degree bend at the elbow. You have a rotation at the wrist. Individually articulated fingers on 1, 2 ball joint and then 2 pins. And then the thumb is also a ball joint, but also gets a little bit extra because there's a pin on the thumb. So a tiny bit more articulation on these fingers. I do like the fingers. I think they did a good job with those. You have a rotation at the waist. No ab crunch on this one. You do have 3 hip skirts here. They are painted very nicely, so you kind of want to be careful with them. The legs go up to there, back to there, and out to the side, all on ratchets and much more movement than the Perfect Fusion there on the thigh. You have a rotation at the thigh. Single jointed knee gets you, I guess, basically 90 degrees. You have an ankle tilt here. Now, you don't get much out of this. Since it's broken, I get a lot more. So I get it all the way down to there, up to there, and I get a movement. With this attached, you just get the same toe movement as Perfect Fusion. So you do get more movement on the Gigapower head and on the Gigapower thighs and legs, but the Perfect Fusion has the ab crunch here, and you get a little bit more bend on the knee. So I'm going to give them a tie on articulation. I think they both have some things that are better. Now, this ab crunch is unique, but because there's other things that don't work as well, like the head, I'm going to give them a tie. Next, we'll talk about the transformation and engineering. So when it comes to transformation, they are similar, but there's definitely some things on the Perfect Fusion that are kind of bothersome, namely these panels, getting this all pegged in, and I'll show you that more in the dynamodes, but this part really is kind of irritating, right? The Gigapower is much more simple, very basic transformation, almost very G1-esque, but they've got the tail hanging off the back of the calves here, and they have a lot of stuff going on the back. They, for Perfect Fusion, did try to get it to fold more flat and be more compact. But they are both very similar, and they both kind of do the same things. So when it comes to transformation, I think Gigapower is just a little bit more fun, a little bit easier, and a little bit less frustrating. So we're going to give transformation over Gigapower. But when it comes to engineering, they're both very similar in terms of how they work. I like the way the tails fit into the legs on Perfect Fusion, but they don't stay there. They don't lock in place. I don't like the way they stick out here, but these lock in place very securely, right? They don't go anywhere. So I'm going to give them a tie on engineering. So next we'll take a look at the alt modes. In order to do that, we'll give you the G1 image there so you can compare for yourself. Now they both kind of do some things really well, and they both do some things I would prefer that were different. Now, the proportions and overall look, I think they both kind of nail it. They both have the, potato shape. They both have the gold head. The Gigapower has both gold head and jaw, whereas the Perfect Fusion has the silver one, which becomes the chest. So a little bit different design choice there. I think it would have looked better with the gold here, but that's where they did it. Now the Gigapower's got the red horns instead of the silver, and silver is more cartoon accurate. Also got the red eyes here. It would have been nice if they had given you an alternate. You could change these out and give them silver. I don't know if the original version had that, but this chrome version does not have change out horns. Coming to the side here, you can see the Gigapower has a lot more detail, not only painted but sculpted in to the body. That is not cartoon accurate, but it does definitely make it look a lot cooler. The legs are also a lot more solid. The joints on here just feel a little bit better. Overall, the articulation and the solidity of this guy just feels a little bit better on the Gigapower. On the Perfect Fusion, got some kind of loose joints here. They're not the best. And granted, this is an older version, but it just doesn't feel as solid. This panel took a while to pop in. Now that I have it in place, it's staying, but it does take a lot of effort to get this perfectly lined up and sitting there in that position. So while I like the cartoon look of the Perfect Fusion, I think the Gigapower overall is just a better feel and looking Dinobot. So we're going to give alt mode to Gigapower. So the final factor on these two is going to be the cost. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a budget version that Fans Toys put out under the Perfect Fusion name. They never issued another robot under that name. But the original retail price was $140, which I was really surprised to see when I saw that. I didn't realize it was that cheap. Then the Gigapower original retail was $220, now $250. Either way, Perfect Fusion is going to win on retail cost. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Fans Toys does when they reissue their version of Slag. They are reissuing their Dinobots. They just reissued their version of Sludge and Swoop. So this is coming eventually, but we don't know, are they going to release Scoria, or are they going to release Perfect Fusion, or is it going to be some kind of quote-unquote fusion of Scoria and this guy, maybe with better materials. Since we don't have it, we can't say, we don't know what the price is going to be. I'm going to go off the retail, and Perfect Fusion is going to win on cost. Final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score there. Gigapower is going to take it very handily here. And not too surprising, they also beat the Fans Toy Scoria. And, you know, it's just really a really well done version of Slag. Now, you may not be wanting something like this. It's a little bit shiny, a little bit not quite G1. They've taken some liberties, so this may not be for you. But as far as my opinion, I think the Gigapower definitely is going to be the better choice here. Now, getting a hold of Cesium is pretty tough. There's not a lot available, and the prices have gone up in the aftermarket. It'd be better off waiting to see what Fans Toys does on the reissue if you're looking to buy one of these. But my money is on they're probably going to reissue Scoria, since that's the better of the two in terms of quality, or maybe some kind of mix. Either way, hope you enjoyed this comparison, and you can decide which one works better in your collection. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.